Welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday, August 5th, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and I want to welcome everybody to what we're calling What Do You Think Demo Day 2026. Just yesterday, many of you saw that I posted on LinkedIn that I had about a year ago, on August 2nd, actually, just a year ago, I had a heart attack. The crazy experience of it all was the heart attack that I had was virtually 1 year. So my father passed away on August 8th of 2024. I happened to be at the Moonshots and Moneymakers program at Oxford when it happened, but he passed away of a heart attack. A year later, my son and I went to spread his ashes on the grave site of his favorite author, a gentleman named Philip Roth. And while I was spreading those ashes, I actually had a heart attack. And if you know anything about Philip Roth, like this is the classic Philip Roth moment, the author whose ashes I was spreading on. He writes about the despair of men. And so I've written about this now, but it was me. It was my father, but in dust form. It was my son, who at the age of 21 probably thought he was immortal. And there I am having a heart attack. So I ended up in the hospital and had surgery, and I had a tough recovery, as anyone would from that kind of thing. But a lot of amazing things came out of it, as often is the case. One of them is a book, which you'll see a little bit here and there, called Swimming Lessons for Clayton, which is a story about a business owner who gets involved with his family business that's owned by his father. And a lot of it is the dynamic between him and his father. And all that was coming out of my own relationship with my father as I was thinking about what had happened, because one of my father's last great gifts to me was his crappy heart. So I was learning about that. And the other thing that came out of it was this platform we're going to look at today. And I know that sounds funny, but it happened to coincide with the vibe coding moment. We all remember sort of a year ago, in the last year or two, we've all been introduced to this thing called vibe coding. I happen to think vibe coding is a game changer. I happen to think it's amazing. I know there's a lot of negative and positive stuff that comes out of any AI talk, but I think AI is a tremendous asset to the business owner, especially when used right. One of the ways I think you can do something right with AI is you can apply it to very specific domain knowledge. And what I mean by that is I happen to have had the luxury and pleasure of working with hundreds of business owners very closely on creating a growth roadmap. And we've done it the old-fashioned way, which is we teach. And then we have these amazing business owner students who learn. But adult learning is really hard. And some of us do it quickly. Some of us do it slowly. Some of us need to read things once and we get it. And some of us need to read things 5 times. Some of us never get it until we do something about it. And so adult learning, pre-AI, pre-vibe coding, there was all sorts of learning management system platforms built to help us. But everyone who's listening to this knows that the way we all developed software forever was that you might have a great idea as a domain expert, but you had to translate it through somebody who was a software developer. And there was a lot of things lost in translation. So the number one benefit, I think, from this thing called vibe coding is people like me can start to develop software directly and take whatever domain expertise we have and apply it directly. And that's what happened. I found myself resting from this cardiac event, following my doctor's orders. But the truth is I did not follow my doctor's orders. I had a ton of ideas as I was sitting there. And one of them was about a platform called What Do You Think that would help business owners learn and then grow their companies. And I'll show you how that reveals itself now a year later. And the other is this book called Swimming Lessons for Clayton. And the third is actually another tool I'll show you by the end of this thing called the Business Owner's Longevity Dividend, which is a financial instrument, really a fund that Birthing of Giants has started that is the most founder-friendly fund in the world, and I'll explain to you why that is. The way today is going to work, I don't expect anyone to spend 4 hours with us today, and I certainly would not be surprised if you do spend any of those 4 hours that we are going today on the background. But we're not literally going to go for 4 hours. We're going to go for between now and about 30 minutes, and I'm going to walk you through part 1, which is the private equity playbook. And then we're going to take a break. It's going to take about 35 minutes to get through this private equity playbook section. Then we're going to take a break and show back up an hour later, which in Eastern time, that'll be 11 a.m. And we're going to take on basically the 1 year from today process and how the platform does it. And then we're going to do that for about 35 minutes and take a break. And then I'm going to show you how this platform helps you build an asset you can sell. That'll be session 3, and that'll take place at 12 Eastern. And that'll go on for about 30 minutes. And then we're going to do the last part, which is founder-friendly capital. And that'll be about 1 p.m. And that'll go on for about 30 minutes. So we're going to do roughly 4 30 to 40-minute sessions here. You guys have other things to do. I understand that. We're recording it for those who can't be here today. But what you're going to see over the course of those 4 sessions is how this platform has developed itself into something that, frankly, does not exist in the world anywhere. I've had the chance to show this to a ton of people over the course of the past couple of months. Investment bankers, private equity folks, business owners, and all of them are gobsmacked is the best thing I can say about the platform, because it solves the adult learning problem. It solves the, I'm a busy business owner problem. I got a lot of things to think about. I need some assistance. And I think that this platform called What Do You Think does that. So let me just start with the name. What do you think? Number one with the business owners, you may have a great idea, you may have a great opportunity, but you don't necessarily have either the people or the time to get a lot of other input on it, on its journey from going from idea to actually implemented in your company. And that really is the journey, because you may have the best idea, you may even know how to do it, but getting it deployed to your leadership team, tracking it, creating metrics, putting it in everyone's language, making it better than it would have been if you just kept it to yourself and deployed it. All of that comes around this one concept, which is, what do you think? So who am I talking about when I say, what do you think? Well, I'm talking about your trusted advisors around you. You may have somebody that you've gotten to know and work with for years, a coach, a mentor. What do they think about your plan to grow the business? You have formal coaches like Birthing of Giants, and we have a faculty, folks like Doug Tatum and Norm Brodsky, that you've gotten to know. What do they think about your plan? And then you have people in your leadership team. These are the 5 or 6 people who always help you execute plans, or maybe an outside person. Maybe this plan involves a CPA or something like that, and you want to know what they think. So what do you think? And you can deploy it to them. And then you have this leadership team that's unique, made up of 5 or 6 or 10 or 3 unique individuals. And what did each of them think individually about the plan? I will show you how this all works. And then the last group that's very important, well, one day could be, for some of us, people like an investment banker or an M&A advisor. What do they think? And this is all designed to take what the business owner does best, okay, which is the business owner knows their business. They have their hand in every aspect of the business, operations and finance and marketing and sales. Nobody understands the business as well as a business owner. So the whole point is, given that you know almost everything about your business, what would you do to make the company bigger 1 year from today? And then conceiving of that plan and then asking other people, what do you think? So Birthing of Giants in the year 2026 recognize that we are going to a world that has changed for business owners. And the way we capture that change is the concept of capital ready by design, not by accident. And you will see this on our new website, which launched this week, which basically is built around the capital ready by design, not by accident concept. And it addresses the question early on for the person who says, but I'm not looking to sell anytime soon. I may never want to sell. And the answer is that it doesn't really matter what your timeline is for selling, because there is no version of your legacy that does not go through the capital markets one way or another. It just has to. Even if you're going to give the business to a family member or employees, the deal you use to give it to them will be guided by external market terms. You may not sell, but this is the biggest problem that's happening these days, I've been talking about and writing about, is you say you're not going to sell, and then somebody shows up with a term sheet, and then you find yourself in a seller's role unexpectedly. And when I tell you the deals that are getting done are pretty bad, it's a bad story. It's a lifetime worth of work that can be ruined in 2 or 3 years if you have gone to market opportunistically. Somebody comes to you and says, I'll buy it for X, and 5 of your competitors are getting together, and you either get on the train or you're going to be left behind. And business owners respond to that with FOMO, fear of missing out, and then they do bad deals. And we're seeing this happen a lot. And then finally, the really interesting thing about the role of the capital markets and when I say capital markets, I mean private equity, other buyers, companies that would buy yours that are your competitors, is that it's really just how to run your company better. I mean, after all, the one thing that we should all be thinking about is many of us are active operators in our business. We're obsessive operator founders, and I'm going to talk a bit about that today. But then there's this other role, this other hat called owner. And I often use the example of Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett owns banks, he owns railroads, he owns restaurants. He doesn't know how to run any of those things. He just knows how to own those things. So one of the curses we have is the operator's curse, is that we know how to run our businesses so well that we stay in the operator role. Well, if you're looking at how the capital markets would look at your business, you would understand that moving from operator to owner is to say, I want to run this asset, not this operation. And so we're going to talk a bit about that today. So capital ready by design, not by accident. Our 4 sessions, the private equity playbook, I'll share a bit about that as I already have, a little more about what's going on in the business world today. Then we're going to talk about how you build a 1 year from today plan using the WDYT platform, how to build your business into an asset, and then finally how founder-friendly capital is showing up in our lives these days and how to access it. So first, the private equity playbook. What I want to share with you about this is that there's these very smart people. They're MBAs. They're well-educated. They've been in corporate America. They know more about your finances and how capital gets deployed in a business than you do typically. And they're an amazing source of information. They're not what you are. They're not operators. Typically, they don't know how to run your business, but they do know how to look at your business as if it were a financial exercise. Why is that important? Because if you really get into it, you have to think of yourself as a capitalist more than as an operator. So I've been writing about this a lot, and I want to introduce you to some of the things I've been writing about on Forbes. All these are articles you can read for free. But my most recent article was about the 4 ages of the entrepreneur, meaning we used to have entrepreneurs who were great salespeople. Then we had entrepreneurs who were great innovators, like Silicon Valley types. Then we had entrepreneurs who I would call great leaders. A lot of knowledge work in the 1990s and 2000s became who can build the best culture and who can lead smart people. And then we entered the age around 10 years ago of the capitalist entrepreneur. This is an entrepreneur that understands that they're not building a business, they're building an asset. Again, whether they ever sell that asset or not is up to them, but that what they're building is something that should be seen in the context of the capital markets. How good an investment is this? If you put in $1 today, how long does it take to turn it into more? How much more? And how risky is it to get there? And the private equity capital markets folks are just quite brilliant at that. And listening to them and thinking about how they build your business is really important. And the other thing I've been writing about in Forbes, you'll see a couple of my articles listed here, is Welcome to the Year of the Centaur. So if the capital markets with their trillions of dollars of money are pointed at businesses like ours, giving us the opportunity of a lifetime to exit at the time we choose and if we ever choose, it's also the year of obviously AI. And AI is changing how we run our businesses. And I have a point of view on this, and it's reflected in the What Do You Think product. My point of view is that there's no greater job at risk than yours, meaning AI doesn't do everything, and it don't even think about it as doing everything, but it does a few things well. One of the things it does well is it takes in a lot of information and helps organize that information so that a decision can be made. It even has an opinion about those decisions, which you can take or leave. But the point is, if you think about one of the aspects of a CEO's job or a business owner's job, it's to take in a lot of information and then have an opinion about what to do next. And I do believe that AI today can help us do that. And so I introduced you to the Year of the Centaur in my January Forbes column, which is basically, as you know, the centaur is a man creature on top and an animal on the bottom. And the way I look at it is it's, you know, a man or a woman on top, a person on top, and serious horsepower on the bottom. And the net effect of that for business owners is that you get to stay in what we call founder mode longer. So this is a shift. The entire emphasis of business growth education used to be on build a management team that you could delegate to. Now you do need to build a management team you can delegate to, but you also can build an AI platform that you can delegate to. And the two of them, part human on top, part serious horsepower below, represents what I call the centaur. I'm not the only one who calls it that. Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn calls it that too. The idea that you can build a very powerful version of you, plus the great management team you delegate to, and it's really the two together. So it's an AI leader plus a real leader that's going to help you run your company. And so something you may be surprised to hear, but we will cover today, is that when you work your business through the What Do You Think platform, you're actually developing a business owner's second brain. Now, a lot of things, for those of you who've heard the phrase second brain before, this phrase has become real popular. It's the idea that you can put a lot of thoughts into an AI brain. And it's good, it's out there, and you can do it through ChatGPT, and you can start to do it through Claude now. It's pretty amazing stuff. Google's Gemini is going to be great at it if you're a Google Workplace user, and so will some of the Microsoft products. The brain we are helping you build is different. The brain that this platform helps you build is the business owner's brain. And it's not just your brain. It's your brain backed by all the other brains on the platform. So a question from a leadership team member that could be as simple as, how do I price this product? Or what do I do to solve an angry customer's problem? It's not just your brain answering, although it will lead with your brain. Your brain orchestrates other business experts' brains so that the answer comes back in, let's say, 90 seconds, 60 seconds, is one that is as if you got the question from somebody in your team, how do I price this product? And you talked to 50 people before you answered the question, and then you ran it through your own business information systems, like your QuickBooks or whatever you use to manage your books. And what we're seeing is that the concept of a business owner's second brain is like you on steroids, available 24/7. And so the year of the Centaur is really going to be the year where you plus your AI second brain, plus the amazing people who help you run your business, come together to develop your company. So how does this all look? What it really means is that you can have two businesses and two business owners. One's going to take advantage of a platform like What Do You Think, make much better strategy decisions, turn their business into an asset that outsiders like the capital markets would look and say, this looks great. And the others will keep doing it the old way, which is they'll work through instinct. They might have a person or two in their life they check on it with occasionally. They'll implement plans the way they've always done it, which is they have a team meeting, they kind of throw all the ideas out there and hope their leadership team catches some of it. And their leadership team will be off and running, doing the best they can. I do believe that two things are happening right now. There's a fork, and the fork really is those who want to work with Birthing a Giant on a What Do You Think platform to really deploy thoughtful strategy that turns their operation into an asset, and those who do things the old way. And of course, there's other folks out there, as smart as we are here at Birthing a Giant, trying to help solve the problem for business owners. But I think what you're going to see, and this goes back to what I said at the beginning, is that I personally had a weird moment. And the moment was I had this cardiac event and I was laid up. And I hate to sound weird, but I want to share with everybody, I had a magical moment. I had a mystical moment. I saw things I had never seen before. I was able to envision things that I never could envision before. I started writing this book about, what it meant to be a business owner, and I found myself writing things in a way I'd never written before. This is a work of fiction, by the way. Fiction, I'm a nonfiction writer. Fiction is entirely different. It would be like if you were a competitive swimmer and someone said, oh, you should also become an alpine skier. I mean, they're both sports, but fiction writing and nonfiction writing have nothing to do with each other. I found myself able to tell this story of this entrepreneur. I found myself able to envision this platform. And I'm so happy that I get to work with business owners on it. And I'm so happy to share it with you today. The biggest risk of all is this. What happens when the entrepreneur loses their town square? So I would say this. What do you think this platform we're sharing today comes along about 5 years too late. Because in the last 5 years, in fact, since post-COVID, when a lot of us took to social media primarily, we atomized our learning environment. In other words, I happen to have come from magazines. I came from Inc. magazine. The world changed, and magazines like Inc., even Forbes, Wall Street Journal, you name it, are simply not as important as they used to be. We're not reading the same magazines. I can tell you, as a guy who wrote nonfiction, we're not reading nonfiction anymore. We're not reading the next bestseller about the CEO who figured something out. And the loss there is that we don't have a shared canon, a shared point of view on what a good deal should look like, a good company should look like. And I've been writing about this for a while now. You can see these articles in Forbes. I've written about some members of the Birthing a Giants community who took the deal and didn't want anyone to know that someone had just showed up at their doorstep and offered them a 10x multiple and, on their EBITDA, and they took the deal, and how badly things went afterwards. What's happened is that in the absence of the town square, these people called private equity showed up, and they come in a really great looking suit, and they show up with a really great looking term sheet with a really big number attached to it. And so we replaced the old town square with this new group of people. We gave them a lot of authority. Frankly, I think we gave them way too much authority. But I think what happened is you assume that if somebody's raised $100 million or $1 billion, they must be smart. And we're taking these meetings and we're taking these calls and we're doing deals that are not good for us. And so I've been writing best I could, made the most noise I could, that you have to be thoughtful about how you prepare your company for exit. And when somebody shows up, I wrote this last article, Don't Selling Your Company, if so, don't be Joe Blogs. It's about, how easily we all fall for the sort of obvious mistake. And so I've been writing about it, but I think the antidote, again, is this Birthing of Giants, capital ready by design, not by accident process, leveraging the What Do You Think platform. We started writing white papers about it, all available. Just go to our website, scroll down to the bottom. You can see our library. One is called 700 Days. So the antidote for most private equity firms when it comes time to exit has been the thing called the earnout deal. So whatever they offered you, let's just keep it simple. They offered you $10 million. You'll find out towards the end of the deal that they're holding back 20, 30, 40% of it for something called an earnout, which is their insurance policy against the fact that, your business is not what you said it was. But also, and not to characterize all private equity folks or buyers as mischievous, but they do have a playbook. And one of their playbooks is, I'll buy this business for 10, but I'm really only going to be writing a check for $7 million because I'm holding back 3. And will they get the 3? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Sometimes some unsavory private equity firms manipulate it so you never see that $3 million. But the bottom line here is it's going to take you between 2 and 3 years to exit your company. So our proposal to all of the business owners is do the 2 to 3 years before you go to market when you still control the company. Don't do it 2 or 3 years after in an earnout provision that's got you locked down, where your new owners can manipulate how you exit and when you exit. It's going to take 700 days no matter what. So let's do those 700 days before we go to market, not after we close our deal in our business. And that white paper is available for you. And that also, I wrote about that in Forbes. Okay, so let me start showing you some of the platform now, finally, after talking about it all this time. You can now see the What Do You Think platform. I want to share with you who this user is, because we have created an entire platform for a gentleman named Clayton Thomas. And the reason I point this out is that Clayton Thomas is the owner of a company called OptiGuard, and there's his email address. Clayton is the Clayton from Swimming Lessons for Clayton. So we actually took the book and we actually derived an entire company out of it. It's called OptiGuard. We have financial information for OptiGuard. We have a 10-year, a 15-year email history for OptiGuard, and we've used it to infuse this particular user, Clayton Thomas's What Do You Think, as if it were, a real company. And that way I can show it to people without violating anyone's privacy. So the first thing I want to show you is actually the end. Okay, I want to show you the end. The end is something called a capital readiness report, meaning one day you may go to market. And by the time you go to market after working on this platform for 2 to 5 years, the example we're looking at is actually almost 15 years because I built an entire history out of this fictional company called OptiGuard here. But we'll be walking through what a Buffett benchmark is later. But the point is, I want you to imagine you walk into, let's say, an investment banker's office. And I'm a huge fan of the M&A advisory investment banker world. These are the people who will help you sell your business in an organized fashion. I'm seeing a lot of bad deals when people go directly to private equity or private equity goes directly to them. Word of advice, tip of the moment. If someone wants to buy your company, say, sure, I'm going to bring in an investment banker. If they never come back to the negotiating table, it means their whole plan was to take advantage of you. So investment banker, M&A advisors are the way to go. I want you to imagine that after 3 to 5 years of developing your business, making it stronger and de-risking it by following the very same private equity playbook that they will run on your company if they ever own you, only you do it on your 700 days when you control the company, not afterwards. This is a report that captures everything you've done to make the business more valuable. And so in this example, you can see that the value of this company over a period of time that it covers is 11,000%. This concept of entries, this is all the entries you've made into the platform. What do you think over the time? It summarizes what you've done with the business over this period, and it looks at who's involved in the business and how they showed up. And I'll talk a bit more about this 204 hours later, but it actually captures by the private equity playbook, which is made up of these 6 segments: market fit, competitive moat, leadership talent, financial discipline, scalable revenue, and ownership and exit strategy. It actually captures what you've done automatically without you having to do anything, what you've done in each of these areas. So it identifies what you did in 2011. And it identifies what you did in 2013 that could be categorized as a competitive moat matter. Why does this matter? Because this report I'm showing you is the bridge between what you've built and what an investment banker or what a buyer will buy. They need to know what you've built in their terms. I tell you that a lot of value is lost because you talk about your business as operators and they talk about your business as an asset, and you don't know their language and they don't know your language, and it turns into a reduced multiple, a lower dollar figure offer. And because the languages are so different, it turns into a longer and more restrictive earnout provision. You're tied up for 2 or 3 years in ways you never expect it to be, because your language as an operator and their language as an owner is different. So it's showing you the growth of the company over a period of time. It's showing you an executive summary. It is showing you what you did as an owner during the course. This example is about 10 years from 2011 to 2020 or so. And it goes on and literally identifies what you built, but in the language of a buyer. So you're the owner, you're the operator, and an owner is going to look at it with an owner's point of view. And it's all identified here, categorized in their language. This will literally increase the value of your business at time of exit. And you don't have to do anything. This is one of the points of the What Do You Think platform, is that it translates what you've done inside your company by following the private equity playbook into their language. And it does it without you having to do anything. It does it in their language, just like AI is great at doing. It translates. When you're ready to sell this company, you're going to send this thing called a markdown file. Markdown file is the new terminology for AI. It's anyone who has, like, let's say your investment banker or your buyer have, they use Claude or they use Microsoft Copilot, whatever they're using these days, they're rapidly adopting AI in their deal process. This is going to basically export this report in their language so that they can now bring it into their platform and start analyzing your company. This will lead to a higher multiple. Let's say it's you and a similar size company. This data will lead to a higher multiple and a less restrictive earnout because you're showing them what you've built in their language. Okay, so that's the end. And then now I want to go to the beginning. The beginning is that as we look at Clayton Thomas's business from, as I said, this is about 10 years worth of Clayton working in the business. You can see the What Do You Think platform right here. It starts with a very classic text query box where you can ask anything. What's really cool about this, I'll just share, is you can You can ask any one of our experts on the platform. CJ is a people expert. Doug is a business expert. Norm is a business expert. You have Will in there as a sales expert. Eric Huberman is a marketing expert. Dale is a financial management expert. You have a private deal team in here, which is an M&A advisory team that you can ask any question. I'll share more about that later. You have business owners generative intelligence, which is essentially all the other business owners on this platform, but especially those whose companies are doing very well. It surfaces the most successful business owners in the entire What Do You Think platform, so you can ask your peers. And last, you can ask yourself. You can ask yourself a question to see how you'd answer it. So you can basically at any point ask any question of anyone. So this takes a while with AI. I'm not going to make us do it all, but if I wanted to say to CJ, how do I make a great COO hiring decision, and what kind of compensation should I offer? Or you could upload, if you wanted to, you could upload a compensation proposal for somebody and ask CJ or anyone else on the platform how they would evaluate it, and they will do that. Here's how the platform works from a private equity playbook point of view. Every time you come into Birthing of Giants for a session, and we do 8 sessions over 2 years, and for our Gathering of Giants folks, our graduates, we do 6 sessions over 3 years. We go through the private equity playbook. And for the next little bit, I'm going to show you how you can walk in, you know everything about your company, but the question is, do you know how to build a strategy over the next short period of time that's going to make the company de-risked and more valuable? I'm going to start with the Update My Company section, just to make sure you know, before you start working with this platform, you only have to set up 3 things. One is you have to tell us about your company. So in this company summary, all I did was type in my website, and I asked it to generate a summary, and it generated this summary of my company. This is OptiGuard, the company of Clayton for the book Swimming Lessons. Of course, you can edit this summary. You can upload documents to enhance this summary. But this site is really looking to understand just a little bit about your business, so that every time it answers a question, it knows your business. It takes minutes.
Yeah.
Strategic frameworks. In this example, Clayton's company runs on EOS, but you have other frameworks you might be using. It might be scaling up. There might be other business management systems you use. But when I add EOS to this, to Clayton's company at OptiGuard, it basically translates everything into the language of EOS because they run on EOS. If they use Strategic Coach or they use Scaling Up, whatever they use, it will translate it into their language. And the last piece is we partnered with a company called Aptiv to create a connective tissue between you, meaning you, the business owner, and then let's say 2, 3, or 5 people who help you run the company, so that not only does the platform know your company, not only does your platform know the framework you use to run your company, it knows who helps you run the company. And I will show you all of those in a moment. When you come to Birthing of Giants, we teach you 1 unit of content. In this example, I'm going to go to the founder-friendly roadmap. We teach this at every class. We teach one of these units. This is unit 1. Here's unit 2. At our next session in Tampa in January, we will teach unit 3, and we will go on for 6 units. The units live here. They live in a way that you can see them. So they live where you can see the slides, the workbook. This is old school learning, and a lot of us still learn this way. You can watch the video. Here's some of those slides here. Classic education. You're with us at the Gathering of Giants. You're with us at the Regional Cohort Program, and we're teaching. One of the things we might teach you is, we call them key priorities identified, KPRIs. And one of the most important things is to take the risk out of your company. This is a huge and challenging shift for business owners. How do they go from being risk takers to de-riskers? Talk about a classic misunderstanding between an operator and an owner. An operator, and you guys are great at this, you take on enormous amounts of risk and you mitigate it, you process it. You're wonderful at that. Owners want to see you pull the risk out, and we have to teach you how to de-risk your business. And that founder-friendly capital research report I showed you literally details how you de-risk the business. And every time you de-risk the business, your business is worth more. So in this example, and I'm just showing you one simple example, we teach about how creating predictable revenue streams can help you de-risk your business. Now, this couldn't be more important, what I'm about to say. The ways that you de-risk your business and the ways that you understand what's important to capital markets is how you unlock value in your business. Now, most of us don't have these kinds of conversations with the capital markets, with the private equity firms, because it's always an adversarial relationship. We're hiding something, they're hiding something. At Birthing a Giants, the whole premise is that we know what they want and we know what you want, and we translate it all for you so that you don't have to wonder what capital markets want out of your business. If you want to turn your operation into an asset, if you want to be capital ready by design, not by accident, you need to know what the capital markets want from you. And Birthing a Giants translates it and creates the platform here at What Do You Think for you to deploy it. So a very simple example is we teach the importance of transactional revenue versus what we call reoccurring revenue versus what we call recurring revenue. Transactional revenue is one-time revenue. You get the deal. Let's say you're a construction company, you build the house and you're done. Reoccurring revenue is revenue that shows up regularly, but it's not contracted to, meaning you always get that call in the fall to help fix roofs on people's houses. Just, you get them because that's when people need roofs done. So you have a predictable revenue, but it's not contracted. It's just reoccurring. Recurring revenue is the holy grail. Recurring revenue is contracted to recur. So think of a software as a service platform. Think of your Netflix subscription. Every month it ticks over. So for example, one of the things we will teach out of 50 other things is the private equity playbook values recurring revenue much more highly than transactional revenue. And therefore, any business that wants to consider having its value maximized is going to want to maybe amp up its recurring revenue. Trust me, there's 50 of these things that we teach you. So I'm just giving you one example. I don't want you to get hung up on the example. But if you went through our program on this particular day and you learned this and you said, I don't have a lot of recurring revenue, that seems like something I should be thinking about, I will move you back to the platform now. We are at the What Do You Think platform. We're in the founder-friendly roadmap. We're in the unit that explores, among other things, in all these slides, it explores recurring revenue. It explores a lot of other things, just to be clear. It explores predictable revenue, how to create greater margins, strong cash flow, efficient customer acquisition, growth, consistency as ways to de-risk your business. But in this example, I just want to show you how recurring revenue works. This is the beauty of AI. First of all, you can ask the actual unit almost as if you were talking to the teachers. You can also listen to the unit just by, if you're the kind of person who's going to take an exercise run or you have a busy commute and you want to listen. But the real power here is this thing called Create Your 1 Year from Today. I will talk about 1 year from today's and what they are in a moment, but think of it as your strategic game plan. And before I do this, I'm just going to check off include your company summary, which is going to grab that OptiGuard overview I shared with you a few minutes ago. And I'm just going to say something like, I want to increase recurring revenues in my company. Remember, it knows what your company is because you've checked this box by 20% in the next year. Now, AI always does better when you put more information into it, but I'm going to show you this whole platform is fundamentally driven on the idea that you are not a writer. And while you understand what's going to work in your business because you have great instincts, you don't necessarily have the strategic vision to figure it all out. And this is where AI shines. This is where you are the centaur founder. You are human on top with serious horsepower below. And as this is generating a plan based on my simple prompt, here's where it gets really powerful. It knows about OptiGuard. It knows what they do. It knows the sectors they perform in because of all the other data it has about it. And it's starting to build a 1 year vision on recurring revenue. Then it starts to offer you ways to enhance it. And this is, again, the power of AI. It actually knows a lot about the people in your company because you've told it. And you can look at any one of these things and say, oh yeah, I want to design a recurring revenue for our high durability polymer formula because it knows this about you because you've been building your business inside the platform. And I want to examine our Defense Logistics Agency supply agreements because it knows about you. And it wants to look at deploying lead generation tools with Sam Sherwood because it knows that Sam is your salesperson. And I want to refine the pricing structures and I want to leverage our Midwest industrial innovator reputation, and on and on and on. And so now you can see that you, as a business owner, you don't have to be, a McKinsey consultant anymore. You just have to know enough about your business to know what's worth doing and what's not worth doing. And this is the power of this platform. And so by the time you get through this, I'm just checking on my agenda here, you will have the beginnings of a document that start to incorporate what you've asked it to do and what can be the basis of your 1 year from today plan. You can edit this. In fact, you should edit this, and you could say, I also want to leverage our new partnership with Birthing of Giants, or whatever. And it'll start to, every time you do it, it's going to incorporate that new statement into your 1 year from today. The power here is that we no longer ask you to figure it all out. We are your writing assistant. We are your research assistant. We are your idea generation assistant. And every time you increase the data into your plan, you get a better result. A great use of AI. Now, the power of this is that you create 1 year from today's statements that allow you to think about what would be worth doing 1 year from now. I want to share with you all the different ways you can do this in the rest of the platform, but I'm going to stop here. It is now 45 minutes into our conversation. And really what we've done is we've set the stage. We understand that we have to be capital ready by design, not by accident. We understand that AI is the platform that's going to help us link our people to our ideas, and we're going to use the private equity playbook to do it. I'm going to call a timeout now, 45 minutes after the hour, and we will return and take this plan that we've just built, and I will show you how we get the experts behind Birthing of Giants, the Doug Tatums, the Norm Brodskys, the Will Fuenteses, all these experts, the CJ Dubays, to start helping us build this plan. And then I'm going to show you how it literally assigns this plan to the individuals we work with so that you can deploy this plan to your leadership team with a level of specificity and accuracy that you've never had before. So I will see everyone back at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And we will open it by taking, actually, if anyone's here, they want to ask questions, let's do that now. But our next segment is going to be how we take this plan and we turn it into a significant 1 year from today opportunity for our company. This simple set of paragraphs will be turned into an entire plan.